I'd like to apologize for giving a pre-recorded message in honor of the Siyum of Seder Zera'im of the Yerushalmi in Manchester. Um, Perhaps some other time we zeicha to do it panim al panim, as we've done in the past. But it's a schutz regardless, and especially it's the shiur I say nowadays is virtual. It is a schutz to participate even by recorded message very much in one of the actual real face-to-face shiurim which takes place in the world. And definitely Yerushalmi ashreichem v'tov lachem. Of course, Ashrei, you're the Magid Shiur, Rabbi YCD David Cohen, who is really from the Asor Rishonim in giving shiurim in Yerushalmi before this cycle. And it's been a privilege all the years to have this connection with Rabbi Cohen and with your shiur, and have a tremendous amount of nachas and akoras tov to Rabbi Cohen for having mentioned me in the article and being in touch all these years, and me from the Minon, Yiskali, Silad, from all of us together learning Yerushalmi. I wanted to say a few things about the Yerushalmi at the end of Bikurim. First of all, I mentioned somebody that if I was giving a speech on the Siyum, I would not be able to avoid mentioning the Gemara on Daf Chaf Amud Aleph in the Art Scroll, which is on Daf Yud Amud Aleph in the Vilna, where we have this question which doesn't appear ever in the Bavli. And here Rabbi Yochanan asks a question, which is a revelatory question, which is Tu B'Shvat. Is Tu B'Shvat the Tu B'Shvat Lefi Seder Ha Kasirin Shel Shani or Kasirin Shel Kufos? In other words, the idea of the sap going up in the tree is associated to Tu B'Shvat. I always thought it was kind of arbitrary. Where does it come from? But this question reveals that it's 45 days after the onset of winter. In other words, approximately according to the Gregorian calendar, winter begins December 21st. So 45 days later is when the depth of winter is past. We're headed towards spring. The sap starts going up in the trees. Now, it happens to be that the corresponds more or less to Tu B'Shvat. So therefore, the question is, should we go by 45 days like we do by Saint Talamotar, except we go by the Julian calendar for Saint Talamotar, but do we do like 60 days after the Tkufa of the beginning of autumn? And that should be November 21st, because on the Julian calendar, this is one of my big kashas on halacha. How can we possibly follow the Julian calendar, which is completely off in this respect? But theoretically, we should start saying Saint Amatar November 21st, which is 6 days after the beginning of autumn. We actually start on December 4th or 5th because we go after the Julian calendar. But in any event, the same thing, says Rabbi Yochanan, should apply to the botanical issue of when sap starts running in the tree. It happens when winter is on the upswing at the end of the winter. So, of course, that's what we do Tu B'Shvat, because we go by like everything else after the Jewish calendar. But the question is a question, and it reveals what the Pshat is in Tu B'Shvat, which you might never understand from the Bavli. And now we understand it from seeing this Yerushalmi. There's another Yerushalmi I want to speak about, also at the end of Bikurim. Well, this is on Daf Chaf Gimel Beis in the Art Scroll, and is on Yud Aleph Beis in the Vilna. And there we have the Rabbi Yanai, Rabbi Chanina. And it says, Rabbi Yanai would sit, have a Yasiv Alei al Asar Toli. He would sit on a high place, begin Mechamene in order to see his Yehuda Bar Chia, when Yehuda Bar Chia would come, his son-in-law, and he wanted to see him at a distance from begin Mechamene in order to see him, make him let me come and get up in front of him. So that's Rabbi Yanai. And later on, this a few lines down, it says, Rabbi Chanina Machi Delo Kohen Min Kamoi. Rabbi Chanina used to make a mecha against those who wouldn't get up in front of him. But Amar Le, he said, Mi ba'isam avadla daraisa. Do you want to cancel the mitzvah daraisa of getting up in front of a zaken? What's fascinating is that to compare this to Gemara in Shabbos, that Kuf Yutes in the Bavli. The Gemara in Shabbos, that Kuf Yutes says, that Rabbi Chanina after V'kaya Pani the Mali Shabbos, Chanina would sit, wrap himself on Erev Shabbos, Omar Bone, and it says likras. Actually, it starts Rabbi Yana, I think, comes first. Does it come first or second? No, it comes second. You would wrap himself and say, let's go out towards Shabbos. And Rabbi Yanai would say, boy kala, boy kala. And Reb Tzadik in Pri Tzadik Vayigash Vav has a beautiful, beautiful interpretation of the different hanagas. He says that the Rabbi Chanina, whether it's Rabbi Chanina ben Doisa, Rabbi Chanina was his leisem migarmi klum, right? He felt so klum klum niza mishul Chanina b'ni didayu lo karum erev Shabbos, and he said that there are two hanhagos in who could possibly be Mashiach. The two possibilities who could be Mashiach. He says, every generation is talking to be Mashiach. And we know that in that Gemara Tzedra, it talks about who's Mashiach, possible about count for Mashiach. It brings down both Rabbi Yana and Rabbi Chanina. They were one. I don't remember actually. Rabbi Chanina is brought down there, but Rabbi Yana is for sure brought down there, and this is what comes down later on. So he says I think also Rabbi Chanina is brought down there. Now I have to look it up. For just a second. Yes, they're both there. So Reb Tzadok says that the Yesh nefesh shemakir she'ein lo klum eitzabora b'kol b'toras chesed v'chanina. V'zenikra chanina. There's a soul which has this humility, it recognizes as nothing on its own, and that soul is together chanina. Everything is great, a act of grace by HaKadosh Baruch Hu to give it whatever it gets. And then he goes into this discussion of Rabbi Chanina. And then he goes into discussion of Rabbi Yana. He says, the Yonun she'en nefesh ze Mashiach hazor v'shul ma'asav. V'chiso yemonon. Sh'beirusho nsar v'shalit. Somebody who has a cognition of the greatness of their accomplishments. Yana had nefesh Mashiach mibchina zu. Rabbi Yana nefesh Mashiach mibchina zu l'chein mutamid av Yanun shmo. Up there for a second, but the idea is Yanun is that idea. So here it's fascinating. In this Gemara in Bikurim, Rabbi Yanai, who represents the Chashivas, and therefore he sat and said that Shabbos should come to me, because Shabbos needs me. Am Yisrael, Shabbos needs Am Yisrael. Not for Am Yisrael, there is no Shabbos. So he said, Boy Kala, right? He's the one who waited to see if he could stand up for his son-in-law. And Rabbi Chanina is the one who says, we need Shabbos. Neitzel Likras Shabbos. Let's go out and greet the Shabbos, right? Chododi Likras Kalo. Both aspects are in Chododi. So he's the one who said, no, people have to get up for me. And the answer, of course, is that Rabbi Chanina, klum, he said, of course, people shouldn't are not getting for me. They're not garnished. But nevertheless, people should go up for the Torah, which I represent. And Rabbi Yanai, who knew his godless, that he was creating Torah and had a sense of accomplishment, but he was able to see and look for and admire that sense of accomplishment even more in other people. Not because there was two different types of anova. But they were both great anovim. And Rabbi Chanina was able to demand people stand in front of him as another, and Rabbi Yana, because of the another, was able to recognize, I've accomplished much, but look, these other people, they've accomplished, and they deserve the honor no less than I deserve the honor. I should look for them and stand up for them. And these two aspects apply to us as Talmidei Yerushalmi. As Talmidei Yerushalmi, of course, we know nothing, right? So no matter how many times we learn, we chazer, every time, it's not hard for us. Because it's new for us each time we learn it. And but at the same time that we know Miut Arkenu, we know the godless Adam which we possess, that Ashreinu Matov Chalkenu, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is mezakeh us to be among the elite of Klal Yisrael that are Lemdei Yerushalmi. And we're able to bring Kiddush Hashem to the world by bringing this miktsaya, by bringing this learning, which is not necessarily at the forefront of most lomdim. I asked how many orders they got at the Aguda when they were offering the free Masechah Shabbos Traveler's Edition Yerushalmi. At the time, the Siyum told me, but then they had 50 orders. Okay, hopefully they got more since then, because I know from that 50, maybe 10 or 20 from Talmidim or people I said that they told them to go and buy the Yerushalmi, but or get the Yerushalmi for free from the Aguda. But in any event, but we have this cognizance in ourselves, and it's not paradoxical. That's why they both appear in the Chodoti. They're complementary. That we have the nava of knowing that as much as we accomplish, we really have not accomplished that much, because Torah is extraordinary and Yerushalmi is amazing. But at the same time, look at what we've accomplished. We've learned, finished another Seder, one of the few, the elite, and we have what to take pride in, Yanun Shmo, to have that godless Adam. And when you go on to Shabbos, we'll also see many new things, right? Being in Masechah Shabbos, you have on Daf Aleph Amud Beis. I'm looking at the article to see what pages in the article, probably also Aleph Amud Beis, maybe it's Beis Amud Aleph. That we have a drasha which don't have in the Bavli. Minayin Shotzah Kriya Melacha, Mishmur Ben Nachem Shem Rabbi Yonasan Shem Lamin Hada, B'Etzad Moshe V'Avil Kol Menachem and Limor Ish V'Isha Al Yasa Od Melacha L'Trumas HaKodesh Shekol Yom Avi. And the idea is that there's a Chotzah is called Melacha, because the pasuk calls him malacha. This is not, so this is a new thing. There are several other new sugyas, meaning of the Shabbos, which don't appear in the Bavli. But the idea is that Hakadosh Baruch Hu was mezakeh us to constantly find this newness and to constantly try and deepen our knowledge, understanding of Torah in a way which is, again, something which, while we know miut erkeinu, ashreinu matov chelkeinu. Hakadosh Baruch Hu mezakeh Rabbi Cohen, his tremendous avodas hakodesh, and his with his tremendous serious nefesh, and you, the Chavrei of Shiur, together with him, to go Michayil Chayil from Siyum to Siyum, until, as we all know, the Gematria, so I don't have to repeat it again, we see the kiyum of Tziyum b'mishpat tipadev v'shaveh tzitzdaka b'meir b'yameinu amen. Mazel tov, mazel tov.